Welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Pisces. Know that energy is fluid. Roles could be reversed. Always interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Now, if you wind up landing on this and you're not a Pisces, well, guess what? You probably meant to hear this message because spiritual energy goes to the person that needs to hear the message. We get what we need, not what we want, especially for this channel, because this channel, like I said, I like to go deep within my readings. I don't just look at what goes on the surface. We look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, see how they play out as karmic themes within your experiences so that you can break those karmic cycles that keep you in a place of disempowerment. Now, I might have not said that before, but I say it in every video just so you know. Again, like that extra step, especially if you're someone that needs healing, you want to know. Because if you don't heal it, you're just going to get the same exact situation in a different partner, in a different job. That's what karmic cycles are. Karmic cycles happen every 10 years, every 8 years, every 5 years. Who knows? It depends. Everybody's different. But what it is it's the same scenario. So it could be being in a relationship that betrayal plays out. It could be being in a relationship where, again, like I said, betrayal is like the worst. And that's when someone cheats, someone again is emotionally not there for you. And there's what happens when we're in a relationship like that is we form habits and behaviorisms that are in alignment with that. Trauma changes our whole physical constitution. So we unconsciously rewire ourselves. So this is why you want to heal the effects of trauma. All right, now without further ado, I don't know why I was called to say that, but maybe it was tied in somehow to the reading, because that's how spiritual energy works. When spirit is working through, you know, we're not in charge of what comes out. Right now, if you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, you got to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word in the video. The word in the video is the underlining energy, which is influencing why your person is doing what they're doing. Okay? Again, and why things are happening the way they are. Disappointment. This person, again, you're in connection with someone that knows that you are disappointed in them, and they're disappointed in themselves too. They're disappointed in themselves for not repairing this connection when they had the opportunity. They were arrogant. They were actually happy that you were in a place of hurting. And it was because they didn't like to be called out on their shit. So there's a sense that so much time has gone where they thought that you were going to come back and they're seeing that you're not. And you're also disappointed because you're like, I really thought by now that you would have came to me and apologized. And just the simple point of making you wait for an apology is what the disappointment is. Because I don't think that you can see this person differently now, Pisces, because it's like, you know that you didn't do right by me, and this is how you're going to leave it hanging. You left me hanging. And part of them was like, yeah, because I'm not a happy person. I'm not a happy person. And you just seem too happy. Your life is just too easy. And my life is not easy. And I feel like it's because they continue to live karmic cycles that have made them perceive that they can't have like good connection, they can't have love, they can't have success, that they get it, they lose it, they get in their own way. And this is why they're a disappointment. And this is why they're a disappointment to you, because you're sabotaging our connection right now because you're disappointed that you didn't do right by me, but you can do right by me now. You're like stuck in that core belief. So understand this is a spiritual connection, and this is definitely showing that this person has shadows. Now let's see what's going on. I don't know why I was called to pick this deck instead of my hidden truths. Normally, I like to start with my hidden truths, but I'm curious about whether or not the person knows the type of relationship that this is. I don't feel deserving, and it's affecting my levels of abundance. No, we're going to go deeper on the disappointment of where that energy came from. So I don't feel deserving, and it's affecting my levels of abundance. Like I said, they're stuck in a core belief about themselves. So really, we can see how a shadow is formed, right? Because of that, this person is stuck. I need to be strong in who I am before I can merge my energy with yours in the 3D. I'm afraid I can lose myself in the relationship. Well, this person, like I said, doesn't know who they are. So what happens is they tend to get into a relationship and take on the other person's energy to the point that they always lose themselves. And then what happens is that that's fine for a certain amount of time until it's not. And then your person all of a sudden wants to get out of the relationship. And then they cheat. And then they do things to sabotage the relationship because they don't really want that relationship. They wind up, like I said, merging together with somebody else's energy. And that's because they didn't create themselves. And they haven't created themselves. We know that because they feel that they're not deserving of abundance. And that's it happens from fear when we're closed, when our heart is not opened. So subconsciously, this person's heart is closed because of all the bad past relationships that they've created. But they're just disappointed, like in themselves, not just because of you. Yes, you're the catalyst. You're the person that made them look at their past behaviors. I feel like for a long time, this person was arrogant and in their ego, and they didn't care. I'm tired of being away from you physically. I'm trying to process my fear so I can come back to you. So this person, again, is in full regret. And in this time out, they have looked at themselves, which is really good news. Now let's look at their hidden truths. I'm starting to understand our connection, but this is a spiritual connection, it's a divine connection. They feel like you're a gift. And it's because you showed them a different way of being. I feel like you're almost like their muse. I never saw anyone like you before. It's almost like, I feel like, I don't know why I'm seeing fairies, almost like you have this very highly sensitive empath energy that's like a fairy. Like again, and someone that's like, oh, I'm gonna go out and collect like, flowers and moonbeams, and I'm gonna manifest them into like money, and then it happens, and then they're like, what the fuck? That's not supposed to happen that way. It's like I feel like this person is very logical, very linear, always does what logically makes sense. So they don't trust their intuition. And I feel like they were taught not to trust their intuition. So again, they don't know who they are. And they don't know who they are because a lot of times when we grow up in an environment that doesn't allow us to have our unfoldment process, that's because there's dysfunction in the house. And part of the child like upbringing, they were taught to always sense out what was going on in the environment and then be almost like the healer of the family, which is to fix it. And this is where I feel like you and this person have a lot in common. So this is what it is. It's like, is that they were conditioned that love meant do and give and sacrifice. That's why they feel like it's wrong. And it's not that the parents said, hey, this is what you're going to do. It's that was the dynamic. The parents weren't aware. They weren't aware that their child wasn't going out and creating themselves. And so again, you're their muse and you're definitely their soulmate, and they see the difference. I remember every detail of that day. I feel like you had a kiss or you had a touch or you held hands or you spoke something to them that touched their heart. That so again, they keep that memory alive in their head. They keep recalling it. They keep bringing it back into their mind because they know that they didn't treat you. And so there's a sense of, I don't know how you're going to like receive me. Already this person doesn't feel good. So they're thinking that you're probably going to tell them to go shit in their hat and pull it over their ears. But like I said, this person really does have feelings and they have reflected a lot. We will be together again. Like this is that's their mantra. That's their thing. They're like, I don't know what's really going to happen, but if it's up to me, I'm going to make that happen. I am going to do whatever it takes to get this connection back on track. And not just for you, but for them. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That means that there's healing that's really went on, because that's what our relationships are supposed to do. They're supposed to make us step into the best version of ourselves. In the beginning, when you first met this person, I don't feel like that was happening. Obviously, I feel like they were making you step into the worst version of yourself. I check on you from afar. So this person again has never went anywhere. So they might have seemed like they went away and ghosted and did a lot of things, which I'm sure that they did, but it's their way of still being in your life because they love you. They just don't feel worthy of you. I pulled away because I am overwhelmed with all of the things going on in my life. So they're making changes in their life. And unfortunately, when we make changes, we disrupt the environment, especially if we were the healer of the family, the fixer of the family, it became expected. This is why your person never went out and created themselves. And this is the problem. It's like, so they're making changes and people aren't liking it. They're like, wait a minute, like you used to always drive grandma. Wait a minute, you used to always do this. You used to always pay this. You used to, and it was always unfair. It was always unfair, but your person never acted like they cared. And I feel like they never cared because that was love. That's what they taught was love. You coming into their life, they're like, wait a minute, like it's stirring up these feelings that I never felt before. I'm terrified of relationships and I actually see myself with you. I want to be with you. It's almost like, what kind of magic is this? It's terrifying. And so again, and definitely not this person's way of thinking, very logical, very analytical. So there again, it doesn't make sense. So they keep trying to look for a loophole. So I feel like part of their watching you on social media from afar is like, I want to see, is this too good to be true? It's like, it's almost like I don't see any problem. And why don't I see any problem with this person? It would almost be better because then they wouldn't have to rise up and step into their best self, right? And even though we all want to step into our best self, it requires change. And that means disrupting the environment. And that's why I said it's happening to your person. So no one wants to deal with that. No one wants to disrupt their parents, their sister, their brother, their friends. No one, whoever your person got dependent on, or people, whoever those people that got dependent on your person. Again, one-sided relationship. And it's like, again, they felt like they wouldn't have been able to even be in your life and give you anything because it would have been a one-sided relationship. And that's the problem. That's how this whole thing started, where they were trying to strategize and control it. The relationships aren't good. So I feel like it never got off the ground because you were like, I'm not going to tolerate that. So every time they tried, you were like, no, but there was still a strong spiritual connection. And now they're like, wait a minute, it's like, what's going on here? Why am I like saying that I can't have it when I really, really want it and I can't stop thinking about it? And that's the divine. That's the divine, because the divine is teaching them, showing them that it's like you can change. It's okay to change. I mean, yes, there is love, but the bigger thing really here is the transformation of this person, where again, they didn't have a life. They didn't think they could have a life. They believed their life was taking care of people. It's again, and that's how they got their love. But it was a little bit not satisfying. Not really, like it wasn't satisfying because it's not supposed to be. And they didn't realize that they were living out of balance. So that's where, they inherited karma. of watching, how family lives their life. And then we live our life like that too, because we didn't form enough of our own identity. And that's what happened with your person. So here you are, just an innocent bystander going along, and now they're like, why can't I go back to normal? Like it's hard to go up against the grain. So it's great. So let's see why you attracted this person into your life, right? Because if you stay with them, they're gonna trigger you, and vice versa, because that's what soul relationships do. They make us look at ourselves. This, I feel like, took some time for them to go through their process, because they were not healed. They're not of a higher consciousness. Again, this person was being controlled a little bit by their environment and didn't realize it, and thought that that was their life. So they're evolving, they're healing, and that takes time. It's an unfoldment process. So you may be like, oh, it's been so long. Well, that's why. But patience is a virtue, and it's, when we're looking at the traits of love, we're actually looking at the highest consciousness, which is considered a Christ consciousness, because it's forgiveness, compassion, self-sacrifice, patience, loyalty, love, unconditional love, the only energy that can't be destroyed and can't be manipulated. Because believe me, this person would have loved to manipulate it. It's like, because they were afraid, not because they didn't have feelings. Difference. However, you not tolerating that made this person say, well, I'm not deserving of it. And then they finally got to a point where they're like, again, our higher self is coming through, God's coming through, which is the higher self, the God part of self is coming through, and be like, you deserve it. I am the universe, God says. And if I brought you this person, believe me, it's it's a gift. It's a gift to help you evolve. And that's what they're realizing on a very, subconscious level. Because, like I said, they may not know the term soulmate, twin flame. They may not know any of that. But what they do know is what they feel. They can't deny it. Again, innocent. So I feel like, again, part of your person is they were very innocent. And I feel like you were very innocent growing up and just seeing love for your family, right? Unfortunately, your innocence was used a little bit against you and this person, and it wasn't done intentionally, but family always knows who to go to, knows who the highly sensitive person is, who knows they're going to be the more emotional one, and those emotions get persecuted. Those emotions a lot of times get used against the children, where the children now feel like they can't express themselves. They don't feel safe to express themselves. And they form a lot of behaviorisms in order to survive. And that would be the fixer and the doer, but in that always abandoning self. Wonder, never going out and seeing the wonder of the world, right? I mean, how do we find ourselves? We have a love affair with ourselves. That's how we find our own gifts. That's number one. And then we see what resonates with us, and then you attract your tribe, because you're becoming love. See, your job is to be of unconditional love. That's your energy. So when we're born into families that, make us feel as if our love is conditional, which is what happened here. And every time we don't do it, there's a penalization. Well, children don't want to feel isolated, so they're always going to do. But unfortunately, that survival mechanism, because your emotional survival is just as important as your physical survival. Well, what happens is that we don't create ourselves. But this is how we reparent ourselves, right? It's like, yeah, well, we can still be innocent and know that that love, unconditional love, is innocent. And that allows us to be childlike when we have a person that holds space for us, allows us to have our unfoldment process. This may be very difficult for you and your person, because wanting to control survival. But you can get over it through, again, investing in yourself, having a love affair with yourself, stirring up the wonder in you. It's like, oh, these are my gifts. This is what I like. This is what I'm talented. I like that person. Forming your own identity and individuality. That's how you become of unconditional love. And having this person in your life to support you without judgment, because children don't judge, not really. I mean, they don't judge when you're going out and you're finding yourself and you're playing and you're exploring together. There's no, that's why it says be like childlike. Children don't say, well, that's only a box. They say, that's a treehouse, or that's, and then because they visualize, I can sit with that box and in my tree somehow and sturdy until the parent says, over my dead body. And then they say, okay, I'll put it on the floor and it'll be like a fort. And then the parents say, okay, you could do that. You know, again, that's how they learn, but they're using their imagination. And then what happens? It rains. Then they can't use that box no more. Then they have to go out with their friends again on a new adventure. They don't have any expectation of what is out there. That's how we find the wonders in ourselves and the wonders of the world, because there are little wonders in the world, not just these big places that we need to go to experience. And the last one, self-love. You reparent by giving yourself that love, by doing all those things, by keeping yourself in a place of unconditional love. That is the most innocent energy. Like when we have an animal, again, if you have a dog, if you have a cat, you can feel the unconditional love. A child, the same thing. So it was almost like the innocence was robbed and into more of a survival for emotional survival. So you have to give yourself the self-love, and that's to find the wonder in you, the wonder in the world. All right. I hope you resonated with that, Pisces. You'll let me know if you did. And if you did, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word of the video in your comment bar. All right. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.